Diamond has left one more gift under the Christmas tree. Here's your look at the Diamond Select Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. This is the exclusive Santa Jack PVC diorama statue. Jack Skellington, the Pumpkin King of Halloween Town, has grown tired of his yearly routine when he discovered a doorway to another world called Christmas Town. Fascinated with the trappings of this new holiday, Jack tries to take over Christmas duties from Santa Claus, but he is clueless about joy and merriment as the other scare-happy citizens of Halloween Town. Now with Christmas in danger and not coming at all, Jack must undo the damage he has wrought. This PVC diorama of Jack Skellington is based on his appearance in Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. It is constructed of a high-grade plastic and exacting paint details. It was designed by Joe Allard, and it was sculpted by Cortez Studios. Luckily for me, procrastination being the reasoning behind it, I never did put my Christmas tree down. It's mostly down. It's about 3/4 of the way down. But I still have to kind of dismantle the tree. And luckily I didn't, because sure enough, I found underneath the Christmas tree one more gift, and that was from the folks over at Diamond Select. A big thank you to the folks over at Diamond who provided this sample. And while you may not be in the Christmas season yet, after all, we just finished celebrating one Christmas, you can most definitely start prepping your house for the inevitable decorating duties that you're going to have in place in 2020, December 2020. If you guys are interested in picking this one up for yourself, you should be able to now find it at your local comic book stores. Santa Jack stands exactly 11.1 inches in height, and that in centimeters works out to be 28.3, a little over 28 centimeters tall. As routine, I suppose, as Christmas is itself, the first thing we always seem to look at when it comes to statues is the display base first. I always like to show you guys what the base looks like, and then we kind of linger our way up to look at the rest of the statue. And I don't feel like we should be changing it anytime soon. For the statue itself, it depicts what I'm guessing to be Jack Skellington going down one lone standalone chimney. The chimney, I'm guessing, would be on the roof of a house. That seems like a logical place to plant a chimney. And you can see it's been adorned in Christmas balls. I don't know who would have gone up to the top of a house. I certainly wouldn't. A 2-story house or higher, and start putting Christmas balls or Christmas lights around a chimney, but that's exactly what they've done at Diamond. The chimney itself is actually nice. It's got a real 3D perspective to it, because none of the actual bricks are smooth. You can see that they actually stick out, and they stick out further from the grouts that they use to, of course, put the chimney together. The snow is done nicely. It's got a little bit of kind of dirt to it, so it's not the most pristine of snow, and nor should it be if it's on top of your roof. And if you, of course, are going to have your chimney going, all of the soot and everything else is going to be settling on the snow. While I don't see any soot necessarily, I do see what will be one footprint left behind as Jack makes his way into the deep bowels of the chimney. Probably not bowels is the best way to describe a chimney, but certainly he's going to slide down the chimney. And I think he could probably pull it off by how lanky and thin he actually is. There's a little bit of snow that's settled onto the top, and while you can't actually put your hand in there, they've done a good job of actually painting the top of the chimney. So in theory, it looks as if Jack could have slid down that if he really wanted to. To aid in Jack's gift-giving experience is his trusty dog, Zero. Zero is done really nicely here in a translucent, almost, it's not quite white, and hopefully the camera's picking it up. It's kind of got a slight yellowish tint to it, more so in his head and less in his actual sheeted body. One thing that's neat, though, is right to the finest of details, they've sculpted in the jack-o'-lantern nose on the end of Zero's face. Did you actually know he had a little jack-o'-lantern as a nose? I only knew that actually a couple of years ago when I watched it again. The neat thing about it, though, is, like I said, is the fact it's translucent. And while the coloring doesn't stay consistent, again, it's a little bit more off-colored clear up here than it is down below. It's a really nice looking piece, and the fact that they would just attach it, they sort of just affixed it to the side of the chimney, it does make it look like Zero's actually floating. It looks a little on the sparkly side. There's like a little bit of kind of paint flecks of white that they've added to the surface of Zero. I think the only thing I really would have changed is making the coloring of his face look a little bit more accurate to the coloring of the rest of his body. Now, I get this part as being hollow, and therefore it's going to be a little bit lighter in color because this is clear translucent plastic. It's a more denser piece for his head, and as a result of it, his head looks a little bit of a different color than the rest of his body. I like the way that Jack Skellington is sculpted. He's holding a rather large bag. Unfortunately, one thing that came with having a rather large bag in tow is the fact that the statue broke on me when I got it out of the packaging. The little one area that's holding everything together is, in actual fact, the wrist of Jack Skellington. I know you would think to yourself, well, there's like these clear little support cylinders that are attaching limbs together so that everything stays intact. The irony of all of that, though, is the bag itself was loose. In other words, it was only attached to his hand. It wasn't attached to anything else. They didn't attach it to the torso, and they didn't attach it to the shoulder, and they most definitely didn't attach it to the leg. So it was literally a free floating bag, held in place only by Jack Skellington's one wrist. And it eventually did give way. It apparently did give way before I opened the box, because I did take Jack out in one piece, and I took the bag out in another piece. Moments later, and some much needed glue later, I was able to affix the wrist in as best of a way as I could possibly get it, and along for the way I actually glued the bag to the back of his torso. So there's like a little bit of glue just holding it in place right there. It's enough that it seems like it's not going to be going anywhere, but they really should have pegged at least the bag to his torso so that it would have given some additional support and not relying it solely on Jack's one wrist to pull off the job. The bag itself is nicely done, a slight discoloration of a kind of a burlap bag that's been sewn together. You can kind of see the seams of the different patches of fabric that they've sewn together. Like I said, the bag looks good. It's not heavy either, but it's certainly heavy enough when it's sitting only on Jack's one wrist. Of course, this is Santa Jack, and as the namesake would say, Jack is wearing himself the Santa Claus costume, a little more tailored for his very, very thin frame. The coloring is actually nice. I like the coloring that they went with for the coloring of his costume. It's kind of more like a very warm burgundy color than a very bright Santa red. It works well for Jack because like the colorings of him are very dark and moody. Of course, the blacks and the whites, but like even like Halloween Town are very broody, moody colors that I'm glad that they actually went with more of a darker red instead of a lighter red. I don't know if you can actually see it, but they've actually even sculpted in a belt, a little belt buckle. I can't imagine what his waist size would be. It would probably be like 6. My waistline is not 6, but Jack Skellington's might even be 6 or even less than that. I don't know, buying pants, he'd have to get a specific tailor that's probably making the clothes for him. Head sculpt is really good, and I've never had any issues with the way Diamond Select sculpt the head portraits for any of the Nightmare Before Christmas figures, specifically Jack Skellington. This one is definitely one of the better ones. I like the big smile that they put in place. The teeth are a different discoloration from the otherwise white, very pale color of his face, and even like his Santa beard matches the same similar color. The face sculpt is really good. I'm happy with it. I'm also happy that they've given some texturing done to his costume. It's not even so much in his legs, although you can kind of looking closely at it, see that they did sculpt some texturing done to both the legs, the arms, but like you see more of it in Santa's actual hat. Santa Jack, that is. This cross-hatching effect, sort of a basket weave, looks really well done, and the red definitely does a good job of picking it up. I'm guessing that the red was likely applied over top of a dark-colored plastic. You can kind of see how much reasoning why I'm saying it by the fact that it does look like the red doesn't completely finish off the plastic that was underneath it. Probably could have used maybe a secondary coat of paint. Kind of actually looks a little bit like an inverted strawberry dipped in whipped cream. Hungry after all. The one thing that's interesting about this statue, and you'll probably see it here in final looks, is that the fact that the arm is the opposite direction. When you do eventually look at it, keep a very close eye on the box that's going to be on this side of the screen, and you'll see that Jack's arm is actually turned around. I thought I could turn this around, and realizing quickly, no, that's not a good idea. It clearly is not a case where you can turn his arm, so maybe at the last minute they decided to invert and change the direction of Jack's arm. Instead of being up, it's actually now down. You'll see what I mean in a second. Of course, the individual bony fingers are all nicely painted in white, with the individual dividing sections in between done in a nice jet black. There's nothing really I would find fault necessarily in the statue itself. All around, it's a really nice looking piece. The thing about it, though, is the fact that the bag itself isn't really attached to anything. I think they probably could have attached the bag by a clear peg. Attach it to the back of Jack's, the back of Jack's torso. Let me again just spin that around. If they attached it just right there at the back where I had to glue it, I think I wouldn't have had as many of the issues I would have had getting this piece out of the packaging. PVC or plastic gallery statue never are problematic for me. It just so happened it was a perfect storm. You had a very thin, lanky character like Jack Skellington. A very large, not heavy, but a very large bag, and unfortunately only one wrist to kind of keep everything in place. Hopefully, if you are managed to pick up this one for yourself, and I would recommend that you do, even though we are sort of now past the holiday season, certainly as it comes around again, Christmas is going to come around again after all, unless Ebenezer Scrooge screws us all out of a Christmas for 2020. This is a nice piece to pick up for yourself, but just be mindful that it does have the one issue with the peg, and hopefully it's not simply hopefully it's just me. Hopefully it's just me. I'm the only one that had this problem. But do double check it for yourself that you don't have a broken wrist on your Jack if you're looking to pick up the statue for yourself. So if I can have everybody draw their attention to the far left of the screen, what you're currently looking at is the back of the box for Santa Jack. And you probably are also witnessing the fact that his arm is facing a different direction. Instead of the downward arm that we got on the actual physical release of the statue, in fact, the artwork on the back of the box instead depicts Jack with his arm up. I'm wondering why they changed it. Maybe it looked better flow-wise for having his arm down as he was crawling into the chimney. I can't imagine it changes the statue being more fragile or less fragile with a different change of direction. But Jack Skellington, by his nature, has to be one of the worst characters around to translate into figures and statues because of his very slender limbs. I mean, it's just basically asking to be broken. And not that anything really wants to be broken. I don't think he's asking to be broken. He is very problematic of a character to properly translate where he looks like he does from the film, and he's also not fragile. Knock on wood, I haven't had any issues other than the one wrist breaking off. Anybody who possibly perceives the idea that you can twist the arm, I wouldn't do it myself. Even though it does look like he's got a seam line, I started moving it slightly, and it said no. It didn't say that, but my brain told me, no, it's not going to let you move the arm, and you're going to probably break something else. Unfortunately, it was sad to get this guy out of the packaging, the tray, only to find that the bag and Jack were in two different pieces. Unfortunately, because they only had it in his one hand, the hand is the only thing that's holding that bag in place. It's pretty much asking to be broken. Not that anything is really being asked to be broken, but I most definitely think that they probably should have pegged the bag into his very small torso also. It could have been in his hand, but it could have also been anchored into somewhere else on his body as well. Anchor it right underneath his 3-inch waist. Why not? It's there. So hopefully, if you are looking to pick up this one for yourself, you haven't had any issues like I had getting this guy out of the packaging, may just want to very carefully take it out of the packaging to ensure that the bag stays in his hand the way that he's intended to be. This is not, of course, a piece that you're probably going to put out all year round, but why not start planning ahead how you're going to decorate your house for December 2020? Why are we even talking about December 2020? Everybody right now is like, we just got over Christmas. True enough. You don't have to decorate your house starting yet. For some of us, we might not have even de-decorated our house or decorated it back down to the way the house looked before the holiday season. I'm still got my tree up. But if you do want to plan ahead, this is a perfect piece to put out on your Christmas mantle or your Christmas decorating table or wherever else you want to put your decorations out for Christmas time. Why not start planning ahead? Pick up these pieces now, as Jack is out now, and you can put this guy on display because he looks great. I just kind of wish that his bag wasn't broken, or at the very least, his wrist wasn't broken when I got this guy out of the packaging. Either way, a big thank you to the folks over at Diamond Select for providing the sample that you guys witnessed in this review. Again, if you're looking to pick up the Nightmare Before Christmas Santa Jack PVC diorama statue for yourself, you should be able to find it now at your local comic book store. It may not be around for December 2020, so you might want to pick up this one for yourself and just sort of tuck it away. Just have an area in your house where you keep your decorations, tuck it away there. And you can bring out Santa Jack at December time. You could put out Night Before Christmas all year round if you want. But this one specifically, I think, is telling us, put me out only at Christmas time. I'm not going to tell you guys how or when you should be putting out your Night Before Christmas figures, but that's what I'm going to be doing. So there you go. If you are new to this channel, long-time viewer, never got around to it, it's okay. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, and keep your peepers peeled, because there's going to be a whole lot of videos coming your way in 2020. It's the Barbara Walters year, after all. Also, while you're at it, make sure you swing on over to the homepage. And if you're swinging on over to any pages as well, why not swing on over to the Diamond Select homepage, where you can kind of get sneak peeks at some of the stuff that's going to be hitting toy shelves, comic shelves, retail store shelves in the coming days, the coming weeks, and the coming months. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.